Psychologist Edward Torrey Higgins developed a theory named the Self Discrepancy Theory. This states that people compare themselves to internalized standards called self-guides. The theory mentions three basic domains of self, namely, actual self, ideal self, and ought self. The first domain, actual self, is the self-representation of the attributes you yourself actually possess. It is a perception of your own values and skills. The second domain, ideal self, is the representation of the attributes that you would want to possess. It is a representation of your hopes, aspirations, and wishes. The ideal self is said to motivate individuals, adolescent or not, to change and improve. The third domain, ought self, is the representation of the attributes that you should or ought to possess. It is a representation of you or someone's view on your duty, obligations, and responsibilities. To differentiate ideal self and ought self, we could use a hero figure as an example. There could be differences in his personal wishes, which represents his ideal self, in comparison to his sense of duty, which represents his ought self. However, there is a possibility that the different representations of the self would result in emotional discomfort. Self-discrepancy is then the gap between the self-representations. This can then be related to the adolescent's identity confusion.
Created using Powtoon.